welcome to season 3 of Life is Better with You in It. And I'm your humble host, Jen Kramer. And this season's all about being something else, baby. So we're going to be a little bit too much. We're going to be a little bit too intense. But you know what? It's a good thing. And just because we've got something else in store for you, we have someone who's a little bit something else. So we've got our friend Ty. Ty, nice to meet you. Ty, tell our listeners who you are. Tell us who you
First,
are.
I want to say it is so great to meet you as well. And I love the title of your podcast. Oh, I think that is just magical. So yeah, and a little jazz hands or whatever that was. I'm a fan. You're a rock star.
I gotta talk with my hands because you can't see my whole body.
Yeah, that's it. I'm with you. We might do like a little
I like
thingy
that.
over
I like
here.
it.
Yeah.
Word.
So I'm a children's book author. You know what? First, before I'm anything, I'm a father. That's really my true purpose. I have 3 of the most amazing human beings I've ever known. I get the privilege to call my children. But then I just found the love of my life a few years ago, and we've kind of adopted each other. So I've got an additional 3 kids who I also adore and love. So that's my primary purpose is being a dad. There's nothing I love or cherish more than being a father. After that, I'm a children's book author and a motivational speaker and a literacy advocate. And my purpose is to assist children in becoming the best versions of themselves through the joy of books. And so I get the privilege to tour the country and talk to hundreds of thousands of children about the power of reading and how they can become the best versions of themselves through literature. That's what I do.
Love it. I love it. Resonate with that story of being a dad. And I love my boys, like boy mom, right? With the second, I really didn't know what we were having. And I was like, I'm going to guess. And, my mom, when she came to visit, I'm like 37 weeks pregnant. And she's like, oh, you're huge. You're having a girl. Mom. Turns out I had 2 boys and love being a parent. I think it's one of the most challenging and rewarding things. And 100. How to kind of navigate being a parent and being a business owner and all of these other things that you're super passionate about. So maybe tell me why reading? How did that become a passion for you? Was that, something that you created a habit with you and your kids? Was it something that were you like, I see a problem and I'm going to fix this problem? How did reading become a thing for you?
I think when it comes to reading, like many things in our lives, is that it was introduced to me at a very early age. Some of my very earliest memories of my mom sitting us on her bed. And when you're a little kid, your parents' bed seems like this magical throne. It just seems like this place of this unprecedented place of wonder. And she would sit my brother and I on her bed, and she would just read to us with such energy and enthusiasm. It was like theater, like right in front of us. And those were my earliest memories, and that assisted me into discovering the world of books. My mother had books everywhere around the house. They were in the bathroom, they were in the kitchen, they were in the living. You couldn't escape them. So you would pick them up and read them. And at 8, 9 years old, I'm reading Dickens and Truman Capote, and like it was weird. And then I discovered comic books, and comic books kind of just changed the narrative on the way that I saw the world. Because when you think of superheroes, like, what do they stand for? They stand for honor, integrity, strength, goodwill, and they're cool. Like yes. These are all attributes we want to be, and we certainly want our children to be. So comic books were kind of my first introduction, and then it just carried me through the rest of my life. I've always been an avid reader. I read every single day. And it's one of my very, very great joys. And now to have the privilege to create those books that hopefully children are finding as magical as I did when I was a kid is more than I could ever have dreamed.
Yeah, we are avid book readers in our house. They know that anytime we go to the grocery store or if we go up to the bookstore, we did find like the used bookstore. And so, we'll take them in. I'm like, hey, you guys want to try it? And I'm like, it's not like a normal bookstore. You're not really sure what you're going to get, but sometimes that's the excitement of it. And so we might find something that's totally new. We might find something that's not. They will go up to the lady, because all the newer ones are in the front counter, and they'll say, may I please look at the, Diary of a Wimpy Kids, this version. Yeah. And so they'll look through the pages, and I'm like, did you guys like that? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So they know with me, they're always probably going to get a book because we have books, we have books all around the house. I love reading. I feel like you have to be in this world in a constant state of growing and learning. There's always something you can consume.
Absolutely.
And we're either consuming this puppy or we're consuming something that can help us grow.
That's right. That's right.
So tell me about this journey. You posted, and I've been following you for a little bit, so you know you've got a fan in me. And you've been posting about this journey of self-publishing, but then opening up your own publishing company because you could not get some bites on this. And for me and listeners know right now I'm in this journey where I'm self-publishing this book. I'm trying to launch it. Just learned 2 days ago that you can't pre-order print books on Amazon. And so we're going to pivot to like a launch. I'm like 3 seconds from throwing the laptop, and it's such a journey, right? It's such a journey.
Right.
And I spent, like, you know, before we hopped on, I told you I probably reached out to maybe 130 agents trying to get somebody to listen to me and be like, no. Once you get on the phone with me for 10 minutes, I promise we're gonna be good. I'm too much. This is what the book's but we're gonna be good. So what was your journey? And you know, it's something else to do something new. So what was your journey? Tell us about it.
So the journey started all with a question from my son. My son, at 8 years old, asked if he could open up a lemonade stand. He made $50 in 3 hours selling lemonade. He said, "Dad, what am I going to do with the $50?" I said, "I don't know." So I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach my son about what to do with $50. And I noticed there were so few books teaching kids about money. So that's where the light bulb went off. I went home and started writing. It took me a year to write the story. But was, you know, having always been an avid reader, never been an avid writer.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed the art of storytelling. It felt so organic and joyful to me. And it took me a year to write the story. And once I did, I submitted, like you, to my manuscript to 147 agents and publishers across the country and was rejected by every single one. So I figure I've got one of two choices. I can, print it and just dream about what might have been, or I can figure out how to do it myself. I went to Google. I typed in, "How do you self-publish a book?" And it gave me amazing guides and resources. I started my own publishing company. I named that company Big Head Books. You could see why. And
I don't see.
Oh, you see, you just being kind and diplomatic. But yeah, about 2 years after my son said, "Hey, Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand?" And this book was born, and it's really one of the proudest days of my life. But like I tell many authors and indie authors, or aspiring indie authors, getting the book into physical manifestation is the easy part. Getting the world to know that your book exists, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say I've sold well over 300,000 copies of all of my books collectively, all independently. And the secret to my quote unquote success is that I don't rely on bookstores. I know traditionally that's where you purchase books, but I long ago discovered that bookstores for indie authors want nothing to do with me. Want nothing to do with us. I'm telling you, it is so discouraging because indie stores, much like any other stores, they have their methodology on how they do things. And if they were just going to take every book by every Tom, Dick, Harry, Jane, Jill, and Susie, it interferes with the infrastructure and how they usually do things. And so most
you like to interfere with how things are done.
Yes, absolutely. So I asked myself very simply, like who would find my books of value? And so because my book's about financial literacy, banks, credit unions, financial institutions, and then of course youth organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCAs, United Ways. So I've built relationships with hundreds of those organizations across the country. And what's great about them is that they buy books and they buy them in bulk and they buy them for a lesser percentage than you have to sell them at the bookstore. So I'll sell 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 books at a fraction of the percentage of a discount that I would give to a indie bookstore. And then the secret sauce to that is they would hire me as an advocate to gift the books away that they purchase to the demographic that they're trying to engage with. Ta-da! And that has been my premise. Tomorrow I'm on a flight to I guess I can say it, to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, that have purchased a few thousand copies of my books, and then I'm going there to distribute the books out to the children. And then I'm having a family engagement night with the parents of those students that evening. And that partnership alone turns out to be very lucrative. They purchase, thousands of my books, and then they pay me to engage, and I get to go to Florida. Hello. So like,
what more could you
now,
ask for?
what more do you ask for? And I just rinse and repeat.
Wow. Okay, listeners, I want you to take note real quick because he gave us a really good piece of information here. So if you've thought about writing a book and you've explored it, apparently we're learning that that's the easy part. So I'm going to put that up here when I think about throwing my laptop later. And then you asked this question of your book: who would find my books of value?
Correct.
That is such a good question to ask, because that's knowing who's your customer, who's your potential person to buy this. And it sounds like you found such a niche in that, and then they hire you to advocate. And so maybe what other tips could you tell people who might be in my shoes, right? Or someone like me who, I don't know if I would want to start a publishing company. I guess Amazon just seems easy because everyone's on Amazon 2-day shipping. Are you on Amazon? Do you do that tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do use Amazon. They are by far not my primary source of distribution. Like I said, bookstore, I've learned the world of literature in itself is very fickle. From publishers and agents to bookstores themselves. Yeah. So I like to be in control. And so, building these relationships and connections, let's take, for example, like the United Way or the YMCA. Everybody's got a YMCA or a Boys and Girls in their community.
Yes.
You go on their website and you see what their mission statements are. And then you find a way to align your work with their mission statement. And then contact them and say, I've got an amazing tool for you to be able to connect with your constituents through this tool. And then it becomes a perfect marriage of like me supporting you and your efforts. It's not about buying my book. It's about using this book that I created as a tool for you to push your agenda, not mine. And so that's one of the quote unquote secrets that I do. As
you position your book kind of as a way to add value to the people who are coming to use their services.
Check.
And it gets them to be returning customers essentially, or they're hey, we want you to come and talk more about this because we believe in your mission too, when you are already aligned.
Right. Absolutely. So for aspiring authors, and I'm not saying discard the idea of working with bookstores. I think my books are in bookstores across the country. But if your objective is to be a full-time author, then you're going to have to learn the way of advocacy around whatever it is that your book is about, as well as networking and partnering with organizations that will find your mission and your books of value. Like that, to me, is the primary way to be able to get your books out there, and do both. Get them in bookstores and start building these connections with organizations that will find your books of value. The other tip that I would give, and I can't understate this enough, and it's twofold, but they're kind of connected, is that you are your primary ambassador for your work. It is essential for you to realize that you are the face of this, even more so than your physical product is. More so than your book is. You are the primary ambassador for getting your book out into the ether. So utilizing social media as a tool, like similar to how you found me and my work, it's because you saw what I was doing, and in addition, created these books. So it's the message and the messenger, and it's really essential that you elevate both of them. And I understand the level of vulnerability it takes getting in front of a camera, doing the latest trends, whatever it is that needs to be done. Yeah. But I emphasize, find whatever your strength is. You don't have to do the latest dance craze. I like to think of myself as an orator. So I sit in my car and I tell these little messages.
It's so good. And I just don't understand it, but I'm going to watch the whole thing because I'm like, oh, Rose in this car. I'm going to learn something today.
And honestly, I have gained in less than 6 months of doing that about 150,000 followers.
I bet.
New followers just by finding my voice and being able to use that voice as a tool to help people. And my message is always of giving. Like it is so essential that when you are engaging with people, whether it's, the YMCA or people on social media, give as much of yourself as you can, because people tend to want to give back. When you are giving information, giving advice, giving perspective, and people find it of value, people will in turn want to give back to you in supporting your efforts and energies. I'm getting solicited every day because of this new platform to come and speak at specific places, in addition to my hoodies and my books being purchased. So I think this is the long way of saying this game is a marathon, not a sprint. There are so many, like you become an author today, you're not going to sell 1 million books the first month, the first year, maybe in the first decade. You're not. But if you methodically take your time and you have a consistent persistence of getting in front of people, of engaging, building relationships, believing in yourself, you have a recipe for success.
Well, Ty, I needed that pep talk. And I feel like it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It's not like an overnight success. I feel like, sometimes on social media, we can compare ourselves to others' experiences, but no one sees me, right? Up early, writing and finishing and like agonizing over these words. And then, going to like the developmental editor and he's like, this chapter, it's got to go. You got to like redo the whole thing. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I thought that meant something perfectly, only to have it be very verified by my husband. He's like, you're either trying to say this or you're trying to say this, but you weren't trying to say what you thought you were doing. And I was like, okay, maybe you were right. And listeners, let's back up just kind of a second because he gave us some really good insight here. So you are your own primary ambassador. This is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So if you want to engage in being an author, you need to find ways that you can add value to other people and have advocacy, and then find your voice. How did you find your voice?
I could tell you, I was born and raised in the Bronx. I was born in 1967, which means I was about 10 years old, and I witnessed the birth of hip hop music. I actually saw it conceived and born and grow and develop in front of my eyes.
Awesome.
And finding young people of color who were once voiceless discover their voice and have it project so loud, I'm kind of goosebumping as I say this, that the whole world took notice and is arguably now the largest marketing entertainment platform on the planet. I mean, country music, which almost is parallel to hip hop, has now kind of taken on this persona. So like that was part of what assisted me to help me find my voice. And I will also say, living in the Bronx, a place that, like I had an amazing childhood, but I think because it was challenging, I think because there was adversity, like there's a certain like fortuitiveness that you have to have when you're poverty stricken. I grew up poor. I grew up in the projects and with a single mom and, some of the stereotypical things that you hear about low income communities, but I never let that stop me from believing in who I was. I had a strong mom who really emphasized reading and love, and I think and then with living in New York City, there's a sense of fearlessness that you have, and I live by that all the time. There is no worst case scenario for me. There's you win or you learn. And I pride myself with all those things, from growing up in New York, having a strong mom, being impoverished, witnessing hip hop. These are all things that kind of molded me into having this, go get itness, and so I'm not afraid to be vulnerable on social media. I'm not afraid to engage with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. I'm not afraid. There's no worst case scenario. I learn or I win or I grow.
Yeah, you're just gonna go down trying. I love that attitude. I feel like whenever you go at anything, I've been known to be a little bit persistent, right? So, sometimes in the book it talks about how we want to knock down the door, but I'm actually going to go through the back door, or I'm going to find the window, and like you will like me. I actually remember talking to my college roommate, and we're good friends, and she had said, like, I actually didn't want to be your friend at the time, but like you were so, that like I was just gonna be your friend. I'm like, I had to have a way with people sometimes. Or they just don't know that I'm gonna be their friend. And I think
Whether they
that,
like it or not, for
I
sure.
mean, for real, for real. And I think
I
too,
love
I'm
it.
sure that you've found on social media that probably the more people that you gravitate, some people you repel. How do you handle
Oh,
that on
sure.
social media, being vulnerable as, the face of a publishing company, as the face of an author and a
Yeah.
parent? How do you handle that?
Really easy. I don't know you.
Yeah,
So like,
word.
yeah. So like, why would I be concerned about the opinion or perspective of someone I don't know?
Yeah,
Like, that's it. Like, it's really
yeah.
as simple as that. And for the people I do know, if they do give me information that, challenges my whatever, I will take it and I will listen and I will process it. And if it aligns and I agree with it, yes, I will, adjust and move forward. But if it doesn't, I will discard it and throw it in the trash with everybody else. So
Mhm.
like, like I don't take there's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk who I'm a
Oh,
huge
yeah,
fan
yeah.
of. Gary V is a beast, and one of my favorite things he says is that I don't get too high for compliments and I don't get too low for insults. Like I really I stay in the middle. I know who I am. I know what I provide. And I don't need somebody in any direction telling me otherwise. I know I'm great at what I am. I know I'm weak at also what I am. And I
Mm.
think having that sense of self is all I need. That's what I need. Your opinion about me doesn't matter. I don't need it. Good or bad. I mean, I won't deny, sure, the compliments feel good. And of course, no one wants to be insulted. But
Mhm,
ultimately, I
mhm.
can look at the mirror and I know what I am. And I don't need your validation in either direction. I just go move forward and navigate the world the best way that I can and try to enjoy the process as much as I can.
I love it. I love it. Well, listeners, you're hearing this first from like the words of a dude who just went and chased it, started his own company, sold the book. So now tell us, where can we buy your stuff, right? My read
Oh,
or else sweatshirt's coming. I cannot wait for it. It's so exciting. So
yeah, I'm so excited
where
for you to
can
get
we
it too.
buy
You're
your
gonna have to take
stuff?
some pictures.
You know I'm
For me.
going to. Of course I am. But where can we buy your stuff?
So all my products, my hoodies, my books, they can be found on my website, which is tyalanjackson.com, or you can simply follow me on Instagram and just click on the link in the bio and take it all there. My books can also be found on Amazon. I'm not an Amazon basher. I'm grateful and I try to live in gratitude for everything.
Mhm.
Yes, they are a really unique and sometimes uh, difficult to work with platform, but
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
but but I try to be grateful in all things. They're kind of a necessary evil, so to speak. So I'm grateful to have them. But primarily, if you're looking to get my works, my website tyalanjackson.com is how you find it.
Awesome. We'll share it in the posts and in the YouTube stuff so everybody can be able to click your link
Awesome
and we'll
sauce.
get some reels up. Ty, thank you for sharing your passion with this community of listeners today. I hope we've learned something and go read or else.
Go read or else.
All right. Have a good week, everyone.